The humble shovel. Despite it being the starting weapon for the veteran class, this is absolutely a weapon that scales into Havoc 40 and has always been a strong do-it-all weapon. In this video, I'm going to be going over blessings, perks, marks, ideal weapon combinations, ideal talents, and a specialized build for the shovel. This video aims to serve as an info dump, and most of my opinion comes from many hours of experience in actual gameplay, despite me showing you everything in a Cadian for this video. If you want to see more content from me, don't forget to help a brother out in the algorithm with a like and subscribe, and I hope you enjoyed the video. Alrighty, let's go over the marks first. My favorite is the Mark 1, and I think it's the best personally. I think if you have high actions per minute, you can leverage those actions into a higher DPS potential. If you find yourself to be a slower player or more of a strategist, where you aim to have high impact actions per minute as opposed to more actions per minute, I'm going to be recommending the Mark 7 shovel. Very easy and very simple to use. I do think the Mark 3 shovel was actually the best shovel to use with Grenade Veteran. However, something that's happened since Grenade Veteran got discovered is all or nothing used to improve your damage over time, such as your bleed damage, and the Mark 3 shovel was very efficient at using push attacks to dump your stamina while also dealing with the horde, which would proc your all or nothing and your uncanny strike, and it was a very strong, if not the best weapon for Grenade Veteran. Since all or nothing no longer improves your damage over time, your bleed damage, I do think not only has the Mark 3, but the all or nothing blessing has been phased out. So I won't be going over the Mark 3 in this video. However, if you want to use it, spend a little time in the Cadian. I don't think it's a bad weapon, I just don't think it's as good as the other two. So going on to the attack pattern, I've got a base Mark 1 shovel, no perks, no talents, no blessings. I just want to show you the attack pattern. Into a horde, you're just going to spam heavies. It's as simple as that. Just spam your heavies. Into single targets, you will do 1 or 2 light attacks followed by a push attack and spam that on repeat. If you need to rebuild your stamina, you can combo in a special attack and follow it up with 2 light attacks so you can regain some stamina. The reason it's 1 or 2 light attacks is because your third light attack is a sweeping attack, and I'll just show you now. Strike down, horizontal. Strike down, horizontal. So instead of a horizontal attack into the head for single target, we want the most damage possible. It'll be 1, 2 into a push attack, or 1 into a push attack. Most of the damage is in the push attack, but it will cost you a lot of stamina. And if you just need to quickly mop something up, like your bombers, your trappers, your dogs, you can just spam light attacks. That's good enough. With your Mark 7 flip shovel, into your hordes, it's the same thing. You're going to be spamming your heavies. Nice and simple. When it comes to your single target, use your flip attack. Just use it over and over. Nice and simple. When you need to kill off straggler stalkers, bombers, or low HP elites, you just use your light attacks. Your third and fourth attack will be strike downs, and you'll typically take serrated blade with the shovel, so your first 2 attacks will be applying bleed anyway. Alright, now let's go into the blessings. I'll make it quick and efficient. Starting with the Mark 7, the flip shovel, we'll be using Uncanny Strike and Skull Crusher. As you go higher and higher difficulty, the game will just throw more and more carapace at you. It is just that simple, and you need an answer for carapace. But more importantly, on the flip shovel, is that your special attack applies 2 stacks of Uncanny, as well as 2 instances of Skull Crusher for the maximum 8 stacks and 80% damage. Just to show you. So you can use this in conjunction with your team. While you're hitting it with the special, they're nuking it, and it's important to remember that Skull Crusher applies a debuff to the enemy. So again, you'll see the 8 is on the Crusher. That means my allies will also benefit from the 80% damage. And as I follow it up with more and more hits, I'll do more and more damage as I get my Uncanny stacked and more damage going as well. Going on to your Mark 1 shovel, again, you will need Uncanny Strike if you want to be able to deal with your carapace, but instead you'll be combining it with Take a Swing, combining with Desperado and Precision Strikes. That'll give you access to plus 115% weak spot damage, and the Mark 1 shovel's push attack with the overhead swing actually does deals a crap ton of damage, and if you have your Uncanny Strike procced, so let's say a horde's coming at you, you whacked a couple of times at the trash mobs in front of you, you can actually 4-shot a crusher or kill it in 2 to 3 seconds with just your push attacks. If you don't want to rely on pushing enemies, you can go Decimator. Just 2 things of note is that with Decimator, if you miss an attack, you will drop all of your stacks. I got 6 stacks. I swung, I miss, I lose all my stacks. And look, it is Darktide, you will drop your stacks randomly, a mutant comes, picks you up, you drop your stacks, it is what it is. I do think Decimator is quite potent, but it is easy to drop all your stacks. I do think it needs a rework where you drop 1 stack at a time, and that would make it a lot better. I just think blessings in general need a rework, like Take a Swing should last 5-6 seconds, you know what I mean? But anywho's, an important thing to know with Take a Swing is you don't actually need to stagger an enemy with your push, it just needs to actually connect with an enemy. So as you can see, I've got the buff at the bottom, but I'm not staggering the crusher, which means I'm still getting access to that 60% weak spot damage. So a base push attack is 137. With your Decimator, it won't apply any damage on the first attack, but with Take a Swing, 176. But again, the important interaction is that you don't actually need to stagger an enemy with your push, it just needs to connect and you will get that 60% weak spot damage. It lasts for 3 seconds, so again, 1, 2, overhead chop, or 1 overhead chop, and when you do the overhead chop, that is a push attack which will be proccing your Take a Swing. Now let's go over the rest of the blessings. Now again, I do think Thrust is outclassed by Skull Crusher because of the fact that it applies to your team. It also gives access to 20% more damage, even if Strength also improves your cleave and impact, whereas Skull Crusher doesn't. Just the fact that it helps your teammates makes it far better than Thrust. You also won't be using your heavy attacks to deal with your single target enemies with the Mark 1 shovel. You'll be using your light and push attacks, so it becomes redundant on the Mark 1 shovel. Like I've already mentioned, I think Take a Swing is better on the Mark 1 shovel because you can more or less manipulate permanent uptime, whereas with Decimator, it's very easy to lose your stacks. A dog jumps past, staggers you mid-swing, you lose all your stacks, blah blah blah. But I also think Decimator is just as good as Take a Swing. All or nothing, because it doesn't improve your bleed damage anymore, I do think is become redundant and is just outclassed by other options now. As I already shown, Take a Swing, all you need to do is connect your push and you'll get access to plus 60% weak spot damage. This is basically Mercy Killer for the shovel. And we already know Mercy Killer is pretty damn good on the knife. Where most of the finesse scaling is on the Mark 1 shovel is again on those push attacks, which I'll show you later. I really don't think you need impact. It has minimal effect on the special attack of the Mark 1 shovel as well as the flip shovels. You're really only using it so on your heavy attacks you can stagger like human-sized elites. But as you go higher and higher difficulty, you really need that damage. I just don't think the impact blessings are worth it at all on the shovel. Exact same thing with Thunderstrike. Limb Splitter, 60% strength is really good, but it's on a random attack every 3.5 seconds. It's difficult to play around. I don't think it's that good, especially when you've got other options like Skull Crusher in the talent tree. Uncanny Strike, you'll always take it because without it, the shovel just really doesn't deal with armor fast enough, even with the flip shovel. Trauma, same thing. Impact blessings are just not that good on the shovel. Because you got to remember, you can already stagger pretty much everything with the flip shovel, bar a charging mutant, and with the Mark 1 shovel, you can even stagger a charging mutant as long as you hit it in the face. You won't be able to stagger bosses, but with the Mark 1 shovel, special a crusher in the face, even if it's doing an overhead, it will cancel the overhead. That is enough meaningful impact and stagger for when I need it. Now going on to talents, in the top section, Confirmed Kill and Out for Blood are going to be your best toughness regenerating nodes. Exhilarating Takedown obviously only works with range. One Motion does improve the weapon swap speed. It's already got fast speed, so you don't really need it. Superiority Complex, base damage is your best friend on Veteran with pretty much any weapon. I do recommend Trench Fighter as well as Serrated Blade. The bleed is going to improve your boss damage and single target breakpoints, or rather time to kill. Precision Strikes is important with the Take a Swing build. However, if you're going into the Skull Crusher Flip Shovel, it's more important that you go into raw damage. If you've got spare points, do bear in mind that Marksman also applies for melee attacks, and is honestly quite an underrated node if you're looking for more damage. This is also a potent node when it comes to the Take a Swing Mark 1 shovel. Bring it down is going to be very important for your Crusher and Reaper breakpoints. You'll notice shovels have a low damage to unyielding enemies. This will help shore it up. Reciprocity, crit chance, need I say more? Every weapon can benefit from critting. Another very powerful node is Close Quarter Kill Zone, 15% base damage. This also improves your bleed damage. Now, one thing I will mention is that Close Quarter Kill Zone and Marksman did get indirectly nerfed in the Bound by Duty update because Tactical Awareness got nerfed pretty heavily. If Tactical Awareness was just 3 seconds flat on Specialist Kill, these would still be very, very powerful, but because there's a limit, you can no longer stack multiple specials for multiple Tactical Awareness stacks. It did very much hurt the uptime of Close Quarter Kill Zone and Marksman, but I do still think they're very impactful and very strong. Desperado, crit chance, crit damage, and weak spot damage. Obviously you want this on a melee weapon. Agile engagement with a weapon specialist focused build, or even if you're playing around the uptime, is a great way to get base damage. Skirmish and exploit weakness are arguably two of the strongest nodes for melee focused builds, especially because they're so close to each other. They're next to a 25% toughness node and Desperado. These 4 nodes here are going to be your 4 strongest nodes for any melee build. The shovel can get benefit from weapon specialist. It does like the attack speed, but I'll be honest, veteran in general just prefers base damage. I think weapon specialist is fun, but I think focus target is arguably and objectively in my opinion the stronger keystone, because why hit something 5 times in 3.5 seconds when I can just hit it 3 times in 3 seconds? Where the attack speed does come in more useful though is definitely in those horde situations, being able to chain your heavies quicker. But when it comes to single target breakpoints, focus target's going to give you more practical return. Alright, so now I'm going to give you a Havoc 40 build that's specialized for the shovel. Combine this with any ranged weapon, confirm kill, out for blood, 1 motion because I'm focusing on the shovel. Take any grenade that you want. If you're using the shredder, go grenadier and demolition stockpile, crack, swap grenadier for grenade tinkerer. Same with the smoke grenade. In Havoc 40, the crack grenade needs superiority complex, grenade tinkerer, and bring it down to hit the crusher 1-shot breakpoint. But we're going to smokes, superiority complex, we want the attack speed and bleed for faster TTKs on single target entities. This will be for the flip shovel. This leaves you with 2 points that you can play around and do what you want. Truthfully, you don't need redirect fire for this, but I think it's just that powerful of a node if you're going to go focus target anyway. I've got a Mark 7 shovel with Carapace and Unyielding, with Uncanny Strike and Skull Crusher. I'll quickly get some stacks up of my buffs, because you gotta remember, in a practical game, you will hear the horde coming, a bunch of shit will come at you, and you'll get your stacks running anyway. As you can see, we can hit the 2-shot breakpoint on the crusher, and you still have some room to go some field improv, focused fire, target down, born leader, precision strikes, agile engagement. You've still got a lot of options here, but this will more or less be the minimum you need with a Mark 7 shovel to get those consistent 2-shot on the crushers. And on everything else, assuming you got focused target and at least skirmisher, you can do a special attack followed up by lights if you need to. Maulers will be 2 shots. Gunners will be a 1-shot. Now the shovel has always struggled into unyielding, but you still will be able to get 2-shot breakpoints on the Reaper. And as long as you can get 1 headshot on the bulwark, you can get 2 shots on the bulwark. I did crit there, but I'm just showing you the potential. Usually it's going to be 3 shots on the bulwark with the flip. Into all these little gribblies, light attacks, followed up by, well, special light is what I'm trying to say. But as you can see, pretty solid weapon. 1 or 2 shotting everything with the exception of bulwarks. Now into bosses, if you can land the special into the head, yeah, it's going to be good. But really, you're just going to be looking to use your push, 1, 2, push, 1, 2. those are going to be your strike down attacks, and that's going to be your highest DPS into bosses. Again, with the exception of hitting the special attack on the head. But because bosses move around so much, it's just going to be easier to push into 1-2. And as you can see, the third attack is a horizontal, that's why we stop at the light 2. Push, light 1, light 2. Now with the Mark 1 shovel, Carapace Unyielding, I'm going to show you the Take a Swing variant. I'll quickly get some buffs, get my Uncanny Strike stacked. That's a 10,000 HP Crusher, by the way. That's honestly a very, very impressive time to kill. 2 light attacks and 3 overhead push attacks, or 4 overhead push attacks, will kill a Havoc 40 9750 Carapace Crusher. Into all your smaller stuff, you're just gonna one-shot it. As long as you're hitting the head. 1-2 overhead is going to be dealing with pretty much every single elite. Now in terms of the perks, Carapace is necessary for the 2-shot breakpoint on both the flip shovel, but also the 3 or 4-shot breakpoint on the Mark 1 shovel. And Unyielding is also important on the flip shovel to get the 2 and 3-shot breakpoint on the Reaper and Bulwark, while also improving your bleed damage on bosses. Between Take a Swing or Skull Crusher or Decimator, you don't need to ramp your time to kill into hordes, because as you can see, just using your heavies with your bleed is already more than good enough into hordes. You don't need to take flak or unarmored. You can swap Unyielding to Maniac, but that's really only useful for the mutant. We've got no issues dealing with the Scav Flamer. I've got a lot of my buffs not stacked, but as you can see, it's going to be a 1 or 2 shot, 2 light attacks into a push, that will be dead. So Flak, Maniac, Infested, Unarmored is all redundant in my opinion. I don't think you need the melee crit chance on this type of weapon. You can just rely on the raw damage and attack speed and your serrated blade. And everything else, if you know anything about perks, these are all kind of trash. You don't need the elite damage to hit any specific breakpoint, unlike the Power Sword of the Slaughterer, which allowed the 2-shot breakpoint on Crushers, for example. Truthfully, Carapace and Unyielding is just going to be your best in slot, do-it-all perks for the shovel. For the Optimized shovel build, it'll look something like this. If you're using the flip shovel, use these 2 extra points to go wherever you like. Anywho's, that brings us to the end of the Havoc 40 shovel optimization guide. I hope you learned a thing or two. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. I'll catch you in the next video. God bless. 07.